Today we are talking about recognizing the forecast of your relationships. All your relationships have a core temperature, whether you realize it or not. I thought about this a lot last week when I spent time with some friends that I see regularly throughout the week and some friends I haven't seen in years. Shout out to Nanik. And I realized they all feel warm. There's a consistency that people typically have in your life, whether they're inconsistent or consistent. One of the things I realized personally, I don't like extreme temperatures. I am not a fan of extreme temperatures. So hot and cold people don't really last long in my life. If there's ever a time where someone says, yeah, Isaiah's cold, or Isaiah's been cold, it's not that my core temperature has changed. I just moved you a little bit further away from my flame. Because there's somebody else that probably needs my warmth and that's willing to keep that fire going than you may be. That's okay. It is up to you to understand that you are obligated to create the temperature in your life. You are obligated to create a greenhouse in your life if necessary. You are obligated to create the proper conditions in your life that allow you to grow properly and that allow your relationships to grow properly. It's necessary to be aware of how people feel in your life. You know, you hear the term fair weather friends. Think about some of your relationships. You guys never seem to be on the same weather pattern, right? When it seems to be sunshine in their lives, you're not invited to the beach with them. But when they're weathering a storm, you're the first point of contact. When you're weathering a storm, they're always on vacation. And when you're shining, they seem to be lurking in the shadows somewhere. That's fair weather. And there's a difference between someone going through a tumultuous time in their life or weathering an actual storm and someone that's manufacturing their time with you. When someone is experiencing a hard time, their respect for you does not change because you can still communicate when you're going through something, right? You're still willing to show up and be present in your relationship and cultivate a safe space for the other person. If the respect is there, if the respect is valued, if the respect is a priority in the relationship, you will always find a way to sustain the respect. And that's the difference between a fair weather relationship and a relationship that's just weathering a storm. Communication, intention, consistency, and purpose, and presence. It is not your obligation to show people that you can withstand all weather. You're not weatherproof, and you don't have to be. If someone knows that they can always receive sunshine from you, but you don't know what you're going to receive from them, it's not your job to sustain that relationship because it's not healthy for you. You know, one of the things I appreciate is I'll always remember when someone tells me that, hey, I always feel at peace around you. I always feel warm around you. And some of those days, I am going through my worst moments, and I'm healing from those. But that does not mean that the people around me have to exist in that space with me. Respect does not change based off of your circumstances. You notice that you don't know where you stand with a person depending on what day it is of the week, what the forecast is outside. That is an indication for you to recognize that this relationship is not built on a solid foundation. Instead, it's built on convenience. And I talk about relationships so much because I think people downplay how much we are influenced by them. You know, how you are as a friend will dictate how you are in a relationship. You know, how your relationship is with your family or experiences you have with your family will dictate every relationship you have outside of that family. The more intentional you become about who you are and what you want and what you want to create, the more intentional your relationships start to be. You know, last week we talked about meeting people where they are, but we also want to make sure we're checking the temperature before we leave out the door. That's your goal, is to always be in a space that feels constant. Despite what may be happening, there's always a constant level of value. There's always a constant level of love. There's always a constant level of effort and intention. Even if there's not verbal communication, we still communicate energetically. We still communicate in our behavior. We still communicate in our effort. There's always communication. There's always room for communication. And the fact of the matter is we are always communicating. And just check the core temperature of those relationships. If someone never knows what they're going to get from you, or you never know what you're going to get from someone else, that has nothing to do with experiences. Instead, that has everything to do with how you value and handle the relationship, or how they value and handle the relationship. And be what you seek, because the truth of the matter is we all want solid relationships. But how solid are we when we're creating a relationship with someone else. Have an amazing week. Hope you guys take care of yourselves. More than anything, take flight.